Hello and welcome to our UK Budget Special Day 2025. Here we're going to speak with small businesses and with any businesses to share with us what are the expectations from the budget and to record their first reaction after the announcement.
Good morning, Michael. So, welcome to our table this morning. Obviously, you're here on behalf of the BBC to gauge the reactions. What sort of things do you think we're going to see today?
It's going to be a budget that means 100 things to 100 people. What we're really going to see today is the personal impact of the budget. We sat in the Copper Rivet Distillery, which up until last year's budget was a thriving restaurant. At the start of this year, Stephen Russell, the business owner, had to lay off nearly 30 of his members of staff. He's taken it from 40 to 10 members of staff. So today's budget may start off as something that happens at Westminster, that we talk about in the millions of pounds, but the real effect of it, the ripple waves, that takes sometimes weeks and months before it reaches parts of Kent, and businesses can really understand what the tax rises mean, what the increases mean, and whether or not their business has got the ability to wear things such as economic problems with energy or more cost when it comes to finances. It's a fascinating time to watch exactly, because there's so many businesses here. The one thing that's so interesting is we've got loads of businesses all set to watch exactly what this budget means for them, and in about half hour's time we'll find out.
We will.
Yeah.
Tell me, because you talk to a lot of people every day as you're reaching out to people, what sort of things do you think people are most concerned about?
The Chancellor's talking about three big C's today: the cost of living, she's talking about the cost of the NHS, and also about getting the cost of the government borrowing down. So the one thing that really resonates with me is the cost of living. That is what's going to change the polls and the fortune favours for Labour. If people can feel the benefits of a tough budget, then I think they're prepared to give some patience and some time. But looking at the polls right now, patience seems short on the ground. It seems that for Labour, they're particularly finding things tough at the minute. So today's budget really will be measured in the difference it makes to everyday life, the difference it makes to the businesses that offer employment, the difference it makes to the cost of a pint, the difference it makes to the Christmas shopping we can do in a few weeks' time. And today's budget will really be measured in that level of success. So cost of living will be the thing that I think many people in here are watching for, because it'll either free up money for people to be able to spend at businesses just like this,
Yes,
or it means actually they're a bit more cautious. And if they're cautious and growth doesn't take off, what does that do to the political direction of this country? And what does it do to the leadership at the very top in Downing Street?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Well, let's see. Wish you all
We'll
success
find
for every
out
day.
together,
Yeah,
we'll
we will.
watch together, we'll see the room, and I guess halfway through you'll start to see whether the frowns become smiles or grimaces, and that'll really tell you what the Chancellor's doing when it comes to success and how the room's wearing that budget.
Let's hope there's a few smiles.
We'll see.
So, Michael, that was an interesting budget, wasn't it? So what's your thoughts following on to that?
The leak before the budget, meaning we could actually watch what was happening, not just in real time, but ahead of time. We knew where the rabbits were coming out of the hat. We knew what the Chancellor was going to say, because the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, had already published what they said was going to be their guidance. So it was really interesting that we could actually understand where the Chancellor was going, where the applause on the backbenches would come from, but equally a lot of criticism that leak led to what had already been described as a chaotic budget feeling more chaotic in the chamber. The fact that the opposition stood up and made a point of order before the Chancellor began her own budget gave you a real sense that this was a budget not being controlled by Labour, but delivered by Labour. And this sense of control, this sense of having a plan, that's what the markets say they want to see. Talking to businesses in the room watching today, they said, look, what we're really interested in here is that Labour have got a plan. They understand where they're going with this. And a sense of chaos, as we've seen over recent weeks and months, has left people frightened, scared, markets with apprehension around what may happen. It just created more noise ahead of an already difficult situation for the Chancellor.
And it's a very noisy chamber, isn't it? I mean, there was so much racket and noise, and there's hard to hear what's going on sometimes, even to understand.
They call it a bear pit, don't they? They say that Commons chamber can feel like a bear pit. When you sit in the press gallery, even listening through to what they're saying, just below you can be a real tricky operation, having to go along with what they're actually saying. So sometimes they get accused of being asleep. They're actually trying to listen to the speakers in their seats because they're trying to follow the conversation on the back benches. And it is loud, it is raucous, but the sense of occasion's there. This was a budget for the ages, something that was deeply historic. And I guess the Labour backbenchers recognised They've got to sell this budget if they want to close those polls. They've got to show support for the Chancellor, who's been really under fire from opposition parties in recent weeks, if they're going to try and say that actually this is a budget that we don't just support, we love. And that's what Labour's message will now be to the electorate. We love this budget, here's why you should. And it'll be really interesting over the coming weeks whether or not that message lands with small businesses, with punters, and do they come back to confidence with Labour like they did during the election, or does this leave them still trailing in the polls? A party, I guess, that's lacking in confidence, trying to make up those gaps.
I think it's very interesting as well today to see that we've got 34 people in the room here who actually, when we saw, is it a good budget or not, 34 people thought it wasn't a good budget for
Isn't
the country.
that fascinating?
Yeah.
You ask in the room, can you put your hands up and just tell me whether or not you think that budget is going to work for your business? And not a single hand goes up. And these are businesses for all different shapes, sizes, parts of our society. There was care homes, there were brewers, there were IT companies, there were people that look after gardens. There were so many different businesses, but none of them thought there were takeaways in it for them. None of them thought that leaves me feeling positive. That will concern Labour. If businesses don't feel confident, employers don't feel confident, that sends shivers through things like the markets. And that has such a wide effect on businesses. We're sat in a business that after last year's budget closed down completely. The restaurant side of this Copper Rivet Distillery shut up shop. And it's those kind of tremors, those kind of fears that will give the Chancellor real concern, because they're hoping to sell this for the good. And seeing no hands go up, well, that'll be real pause for thought.
And as we know, I mean, small business is the future of the business and the backbone of the UK economy. And if we're finding it hard, and we've got to be more creative, and it's going to cost us more, how we find ways to be more productive, to invest, to grow, is going to be tough, isn't it?
When you look at social media and you look at what businesses are saying, they're all saying, look, this is going to be a hard budget because everything has been squeezed. Rather than lean on a big lever, such as income tax, the Chancellor went for several small different tax rises across the board, freezing income tax thresholds. All of that just makes things more tight for families. If you've moved to an electric vehicle, seeing a new tax applied to that, all of these things squeeze the pounds in our pocket, and they make you change the way you perhaps think around the way the economy is working for you. That will really give the Chancellor pause for thought, because if people aren't feeling better off, the question at the next election will be that one for our ages. Are you better off under Labour than you were before? And if the Chancellor can't convince people to say yes, then there'll be a real fork in the roads for voters. And that's why Labour will be so desperate to say to people, actually, this budget will make you better off. And it will make you better off in the short and long term.
But that doesn't seem the case, is it, at all, when you look at it? I mean, from our opinion, it just doesn't seem the way.
Many businesses here today saying that doesn't feel like something they can buy into yet. Seeing the headlines, they always say the devil's in the detail. Yeah. They always say the devil's in the detail. And this budget is several hundred pages long. It's got an OBR, an Office for Budget Responsibility summary beside it, which is like an independent thought process around what they make to the Chancellor's budget. So you take the two together, the political document and this independent document, and from that we'll get a long-term picture as to whether or not this works. The trouble is, what the OBR said today was that on every metric over the coming few years, they have downgraded growth in this country. That will really concern many businesses if they don't feel they're going to be better off. What's the point if I'm not doing this to be better off? And I guess that'll be the real question the Chancellor's got to ask.
Absolutely. Michael, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
You're a star. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.